Well, welcome everyone here today. It's an absolutely pleasurable moment to be here and a historic moment for rugby in Queensland and Queensland Rugby Union to be announcing our principal partner, BMS, who are coming on board for the 2024 season. It's been a great journey establishing this relationship over the last 3 or 4 months, and I can say with pride that both our organisations share aligned values around the ability to care and connect to rugby in this state and to Queenslanders, to support the growth of the game across men's and women's rugby, which is a real pleasure. BMS will join us as a front of jersey partner for both our men's and women's program. For the women's program, both the 15s and 7s. It's a pleasure to be here today with some of our great talent from both of those pathways. Rugby's got a really successful program across 15s and 7s, both for the men and women, and a real pleasure to see the talent that's been part of that here today as well. The success of the 7s pathway, just to talk to that, has been outstanding. Queensland take a lot of pride in the performance of our 7s pathway. We produce probably close to 70% of the talent in the national team, and we've seen with the recent success this season with the women's 7s team winning both their first 2 major championships. And great to have one of our own products, Madison, here today to share this announcement. But we're really pleased that QAS and our program support that pathway. The same with our 15s women's program. With Renee here today, we went 1 short last year against the Fijiana and in our grand final there at Townsville. So we see a really good opportunity, as do BMS, in supporting the advancement of women in our sport at a participation level, but also at an elite level. But also our men's program, which we know with Les coming in as coach, he's extremely proud and ready to take this team to the next level, and we couldn't feel it's a better time to do that with BMS on our front of jersey. And probably the last thing just is that shared values around performance. BMS are a very successful global insurance broking business. They're on a strong growth trajectory here in Australia, particularly what we're doing here in Queensland. So we're excited to be able to support them in that journey to grow their business with our game as well. So exciting times ahead. Happy to take any questions.
That covers it all well. Christy, anything for you?
Sure. Dave, I know you've been doing this for a couple of months trying to line this up, but just how important is it under Australian rugby environment, particularly Queensland, that big major sponsor comes on board, shared aligned values, but also from a financial point of view, a really kind of strong thing for Queensland rugby?
Yeah, I think, look, it's important that organisations are always going to be looking at what they can get out of any sort of sporting partnership, and again, as you've said, like the opportunity with us, there's definitely that shared value of performing on and off the field. We've come out of a great partnership for 15 years with Westpac. We've only had probably in our time 5 major partners, so anyone that comes on board as our principal partner tends to stick a long time, and there's a reason for that. And BMS have looked at where we've been over the last couple of decades, but particularly where we're going, and I think that they see the value of what we can deliver here in Queensland. And as people know, the Queensland model is not just about the Reds, it's about the whole game. It's about what we do across all parts of the game. And obviously a key element of that, on top of what I've mentioned, is the BMS National Rugby Training Centre here at Ballymore, and supporting our vision here for Ballymore, making it a multi-sport venue, a home for women's rectangular sport. So I think, to answer that, Christy, it's the diversity of what we offer, it's the breadth of what we offer across the professional and community game, and it's also the accessibility to a multi-sport precinct here in Ballymore.
And just also there's been a fair bit of commentary over the last couple of years around centralised models, commercial alignment and so forth. This is a fair kind of tick in terms of Queensland Rugby being able to prove to the wider Australian rugby community that Queensland, there are opportunities for Super Rugby franchises in Queensland Rugby to kind of push on in terms of being economically viable into the future.
Yeah, look, I think it's we've been clear that we definitely know there's a need to work more collaboratively around high performance and our on-field performance as a game. So that's Reds, Wallabies, Super Rugby clubs. But we feel that there's a real advantage of for us being able to drive those local relationships intimately, and we've sort of been clear that that's a space that we want to drive. We're happy to work with Rugby Australia on various initiatives, but being able to drive local partnerships as Queensland Rugby is a key part of the reason why these organisations are invested into what we've got to offer here in Queensland.
David, what did you see commercially in this partnership that's might benefit you and the Reds?
Well, we see it very much as a partnership. Our business is still in its infancy in Australia. We're really trying to grow our brand around the country, and when we started talking to the Queensland Rugby Union, we were really aligned on the direction we want to go. So the partnership made a lot of sense. We're really excited about it. It's great for our business. It's a big milestone for our business in Australia, and we're grateful for the support we had from both our head office and also our head office in London. So we're really excited about the 4 years ahead, what we can achieve together. It's a great time to be involved in Queensland Rugby, we feel, and we're really excited to get going.
Yeah, there's been a lot of doom and gloom around the game recently that this shows, and even the results financially over the last few years here at the Reds shows that the ceiling's pretty high, at least in Queensland. How do you see that?
I think so. Rugby's a great game. It's been very good to a lot of us for a long part of our life, and I think there's a lot of upside if we can get things right. And Queensland's a very proud rugby state. The Reds are a proud rugby team, as are the women's team and also the Sevens program. The Sevens particularly has come a long way since I would have started here, 20 plus years ago. So now in Queensland we've got some of the best women's Sevens players in the world, and we should be proud of that. And we're really excited about being part of that journey. So there's a lot of good stuff happening. The British Lions are coming in a couple of years. We're hosting a World Cup, men's and women's, within the next decade, and then obviously got the Olympics as well. So there's a lot there to be happy about. We do have some challenges. Rugby has had some adversity the last 12 months. World Cup didn't go the way we wanted to, but like I said, if we all work hard together, I think we can go forward.
You spoke about that alliance direction as well, because that's your former club as well. What are sort of the next steps that you're hoping that this partnership can really work towards now?
Yeah, look, I think there's a bunch of stuff that we'll be working together with QRU on. It'll be great for our clients, for our staff, and for our brand. I think it looks fantastic, the logo on the facility, and we're lucky to have this now in Queensland. I think we've all been around long enough to know that the previous iteration needed work, and it's great to see that there's been an investment in a facility like this that all the players and the staff can use to go forward. And I was just talking to some of the boys inside there, and people coming in on their day off to do extra recovery, and that's the kind of thing you get when you have a facility that's world class. And it's great to see that, and that's how you achieve success. You got to do a bit extra and do things a little bit better, and having a great facility like this just gives you that platform.
Steve, with your previous titles as a captain of Australia and playing over 100 tests, no matter what your position was with BMS, you would have been a big driver to head office back in London, trying to be persuasive about what rugby had to offer in Australia. What sign is this that you still have a great faith in Australian rugby, but obviously Queensland rugby as well?
Yeah, I guess I was pretty conscious about that in terms of not driving that too much. I know rugby's been a big part of my life, but this had to work for everyone in the business and for our team. We've got a footprint around the country and around the world, and we've got many opportunities to partner with different things and different organisations. So we had a really robust discussion internally in Australia, but also with the UK about doing this, and there was broad support that this was the right partnership for us to do, and we're really committed to it. We think there's a lot of opportunity for all of us over the next 4 years, and the fact that it's rugby, I guess, I'm probably a little bit biased, but I'm really keen to see the Reds do well, and also the women's and the Sevens program continue to grow in Queensland.
Does this mean you'll probably head into a few board meetings and see if they're on track?
No, I think I'm conflicted out now, Jim, so...
No, that's not a problem in Australian rugby.
No, well, you're right.
Chrissy, anything?
G'day, Steve. Hope you're going well.
Christy, how are you?
Yeah, excellent, thank you. There's a bit of noise at the moment around Peter Horn jumping on board as a high performance manager. Just out of curiosity, that's a huge step in the direction before Christmas. But how important would it be, and in terms of Waldy's coach's timelines and so forth, how important is it to kind of get that done?
Yeah, it is. I know we've had some disruption at the board level there, so it's probably taken a bit longer than they would have liked, but hopefully they land on the right candidate for that role. And if you go through a thorough process, I guess you can look back and say you've got the right person in that role, and the same applies to the head coach position. I think we need to look at who's available right around the world and find the absolute best candidate, because we've got so much ahead of us here that we need to find the right person to take the team forward, and if we do that, I think we can do really well. I've never felt that we're short on talent here. Look around in front of me here, and there's some wonderful players that we've got in Australia, and we need to just find the right environment for them to be able to thrive.
And have you got an opinion on whether or not Australian rugby should have a foreign coach or a local coach, or do you just think the
Best person for the job, I think, Christy. I think if we just restrict ourselves to Australian coaches, I think we're not doing the best job of finding the right person for the job. And I think we probably haven't grown our own coaches as well as we could have in the last however many years. But and for that reason, we need to look around the world to find our next coach. And if that's an Australian, then that's great. But we need to get the right person. And there's some really quality candidates around at the moment.
I think Phil Waugh said on radio as well that they wouldn't rule out a foreign coach at all, but as long as they were able to coach within the Australian brand, Australian identity and such. As a former Wallaby, what is that brand, that culture, that identity that maybe has been lacking a little bit in the fallout from the World Cup?
Yeah, it's a good question. Every team has a bit of a different identity, don't they? So it's up to the current generation, I suppose, to determine what that is, what we want to be known for as a team and as a rugby nation. If you look back through our history, I suppose, when we have done really well, we've been creative, we've worked hard for each other, we've been disciplined. All those things are probably come into play when you're talking about what you want to be known for. But the next coach, just like Les has here, he'll have a view for how he wants his team to play, and you should be able to watch that without someone telling you and say, this is a focus of this team. And I think if we can get to that point, we've done a good job.
No, it's a pleasure to come into the BMS Stadium facility. Actually, it's a great facility, as you can all see, and it's great to be working with rugby people. So we really appreciate what you guys are offering us, and it's going to be a great relationship. So fantastic.
Steve said yesterday, walking in here now, you can feel the freshness or the professionalism of a place like this. Have you felt that since you've started?
Yeah, I certainly have. And a lot of that's attributed to people first. The facility is part of the deal, but since I've arrived here, the people involved in this organisation is fantastic, from not just the Reds professional area, but also the QRU. The people in this place are fantastic. They certainly want the place to succeed. There's a lot of things been put in place over the last 5 to 10 years. I'm very fortunate to come into a place that has a strong foundation, and that's been embellished by the support that we're getting from someone like BMS. And now it's our job to go out and try and make something special happen.
And all your cattle's back? All the boys are on the paddock now?
Yeah, my men are back, and the women are back and on board. Yeah, look, it's exciting. I think we're 1.5 weeks into our pre-season, so it's been 1.5 weeks with the full group. I've had the pleasure to be working with some of the group for the last 10 or 12 weeks as well, but we're slowly and surely getting to know each other. And I see a bunch of young men who are really, really hungry to find out how good they can be. They've got an appetite to work hard. This team likes to play, they have a confidence to play, and I just want to make sure that they're as well armed as possible, me and my coaches, to go out there and have the courage to back themselves and go for this. We want to play an exciting game, but we've got to make sure we're good at all the things that are necessary to do that.
How have the World Cup boys come back, I guess, in terms of attitude in these first weeks of training and their whole approach after the way the World Cup went? What have you sort of noticed in them in these early stages?
exceptional. I've worked with a lot of the boys up to before they came. They were all exceptional how they approached it. Some of the Wallaby boys have come in and had a little bit of catch up to do, but they've ripped into it, and they've really tried to work hard to find out what the other principles we're starting to put in play over the last 10 or 12 weeks. I've also had all the coaches on board over the last month, and we've worked hard to nut through what our game is going to look like and what we feel will suit the players that we have. So we've been through that process as well. But the Wallabies have stepped in, they've added their flavour, added their experience and expertise, and as I say, we're 1.5 weeks into pre-season, and it's hard to hold the boys back. In terms of controlling all that energy. But it's great to have them back, and they've added massive value.
Liam Wright's overdue for a year of fitness as well. How's he sort of shaping up with his rehab, and how close will he be to be able to do full contact and the full workload?
Well, I'm nearly going to take him into the coaching staff after he worked as a coach for me through the Challenger Series and in the Wild Knight Series. Look, Liam's worked hard on that injury, but he hasn't stayed latent. He's actually engaged with the game. As I said, I brought him as a coach with the forward pack and the line out and all those things in the Challenger Series and the Wild Knight Series. So he hasn't sort of stood back and just worked on his shoulder. He's worked on his game, his understanding. I think it was a great insight for him to be involved in the coaching part of it, in coaches' meetings right through the delivery, halftime talks, messages during games. Just another depth of understanding about how he can make an impact as a leader in the club. So I'm really pleased that his last 1.5 weeks being back in full training has gone really well for him.
So you've been involved in Irish rugby for a long time, and when they were not so much on the top of the heap. What does it take to turn around a country? Does it take one strong team like a Leinster or a Munster to bring a country along, or like Queensland or New South Wales? Where does the start of a rise come from within a country? Because you can change head coaches of national teams, but the heart of the team comes really often from a particular province.
Certainly, I think the first thing you need is good people, strong governance, and getting alignment in the right areas, particularly in terms of servicing what the players need and what the coaches need in the game. And I'm talking about every level. I'm pretty sure that people, if you talk to the people from the Irish rugby system, the success they've had is from good people working together and getting a program that's people-centric, and that's important. It can't be about power and control. It should be about making sure we get the right things in place to create what Steve alluded to before, an environment where players can flourish, where coaches can flourish, where all the staff in the professional domain can flourish. It's massively important. So, those are things that I would say embody a good system, good people that are willing to work together, get the common ground, work through the differences, and do things that matter and gets the results that we need. But ultimately, we want an environment where players and good staff can flourish and find the best in themselves.
So Les, is it, with you having coached like overseas, is it just a matter of, as was said by Stephen before, just getting the best coach regardless of where he comes from?
I think every country has that challenge about how they do that, for sure, in terms of their national team. I'll leave that for smarter people, but I would agree the best person that can fit is a massively important thing.
Les, who's wearing the number 10 for the Reds next season?
It's a good question. We've got options, and speaking to all of them, they've got some particular strength that can come to the fore. The style of game where they can have the courage and confidence to back the pitches that they see and play footy will be part of that deal. But I feel very, very comfortable that I can lean on the experience of a James right down to the youth of a Harry. In between you got Tom Liner and Lawson. It's a really good situation to be in. So who starts? We'll find out.
James has been he's signed that deal to stay for another season. What have you found working with him? What some insights or observations of how that's been so far?
Yeah, it's good. He hasn't been on the park as much as he would have liked, but we're just managing through some slight little injury that he had from the A tour, I think it was from. But he's He's been in every meeting, every Learn to Grow meeting we've had. He's been in every sideline in training, even standing back in behind with me and other coaches, with Brad and Fish and Zane and Dale, just observing things and offering his expertise to it. It's no secret. We already know that he's aspiring to be some form of a coach as he goes forward. So there's some great experiences for him while he's on the sidelines. But his influence is very important for us for sure. He's got his own insights to how some of the stuff we've talked about and we've implemented can work, as will other players here. So that's important, that we're all in this together, and it's not just one way, it's our way, and that we all put it all together. And James is part of that mix, but he's been very impressive today.
You've only got 2 trials with a lot of change of thought and ideas of playing it. Any plans to try and squeeze something else in there to give you a bit of a hitter?
Not at this stage, Jim. I got a lot of insight from the Challenger Series, not only with regard to the community game here, the club game, exposed to 45, 50 players in the system here, which is fantastic, and a number of coaches, which was important. We had the Wild Knights series to have a good look at some players there and some systems. It's 3 weeks before Christmas, pretty short period, but we've been trying to focus on the things that we think will make a difference, best bang for buck. We feel it'd be right to have the 2 friendlies. It's a shame that you draw through the Waratahs, 2 weeks apart, but that's what it is, and we'll make that work as well. But we're also going to make sure we've already organised approximately 3 or 4 extra games for the players, similar to like a development team or an A team, to be able to play in that period as well. So hopefully we get enough game time for the boys to actually find out how they can fit how we play and what they offer to that system. So at this stage we'll be staying with the 2 friendlies.
Can you let us know who the A team might play against? What sort of opposition?
Some club teams, and just working in that. So that I think I'm pretty keen to make sure that we connect even tighter. There's been some strong work done over the last 4 or 5 years of bringing the club game close to us, and that we all feel part of each other, and to join up in those sort of domains is important for us. So some of the club teams we'll be playing against, I don't have the exact dates in the clubs at this stage, but I know that some things have been locked in already. We can possibly get that information out another day.
So maybe February-ish?
February, March, into the competition as well. It's just that first period where there is a gap between the start of the competition for the clubs, so those guys get a chance to actually play, and some of the clubs have like some friendlies as well, just to test their systems, which is good. And talking to the majority of the coaches in the club arena, they were all keen to actually try and help out where they can, and also get the benefit they can from it as well.
And Les, can I just ask as well, mate? Hope you're going well.
Thanks, Christy.
Is there one aspect or element of the Reds where you think there's the most improvement to be made?
It's a good question. I see a lot of the qualities that you want in place. I've said often, that foundation that Brad and the boys have put in place is there. That heart, that will to win, to drive hard and empty the tank. If there's probably probably a couple of areas, I'd just like them to be more. Pull the trigger, have the confidence to play the game and the courage, but just probably knock off their opportunities better. Finish their opportunities to create, and just game management overall. The game's getting tougher and tougher. Teams are getting better at defence, better at set piece. You've got to be able to skin the cat in many different ways. So just to offer some variation about how we can approach different battles and different game styles, and still stay true to what we want to do, just to build that type of tactical acumen in the game and strengthen that a little bit more.
Yeah, I heard you say the word courage before earlier in one of your responses, and there you just said pull the trigger a bit. Is that a confidence thing, or is there certain elements that you can kind of teach to help give them that off the field? Or is it just an on the field thing that eventually clicks?
I think it's a collaborative process about understanding the key principles that will drive our game. And once you've got key principles, you understand what they look like, smell like, feel like, all those things, even sounds like. You actually, narrow the margin, take away the big areas you're not sure about, and then we can act with conviction. And just to give a little bit more direction in that area, you pull the trigger when pitches are clearer is a lot better than pulling triggers and you're not sure what you're actually doing. So just tightening that and making sure that players understand how we work well together. And hopefully by having those principles in place, there's a freedom to read pitches, whether it's to kick or run. That's up for the boys. We'll work that out as we go along. But hopefully through the work we're doing here in a really collaborative way, the players have a massive input to how we drive these things. And then, you just open up that way for the boys to have the courage to keep going at this game and attack it the way that they'd like to.
Thanks, Christy. Jet lag, buddy?
A little bit. 4:30 yesterday afternoon. Yeah.
It's a pretty torrid flight back too, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, we had a direct from Joburg straight to Sydney, so it wasn't terrible.
Did you have to pay for the broken swimming pool? Or?
No, I think they let us off the hook.
To be involved in having a training centre like this, what are your feelings about how it helps the women's game overall to have these facilities and be openly recognised as being a women's training centre?
Yeah, I think it's pretty exciting. The game for both 15s and 7s in women's rugby is growing. So to have an elite world-class facility here in Brisbane and to help promote and grow grassroots footy and the women's game is pretty awesome.
Walshy's always got tricks up his sleeve to keep you guys keen. What's he been up to over the last few months? It's obviously a massive time leading into the Olympics.
Yeah, I guess we just got to go back to the drawing board. We've obviously had 2 successful back-to-back weekends, which is pretty good, but the hard work doesn't stop here. We just got to keep retaining that and keep ticking off our little goals, working towards the Olympics. It's obviously a huge year up ahead, and we've got milestone tournaments each month, which is pretty exciting, but I guess just staying in it and just not getting too far ahead of ourselves.
Yeah. Do you think you're at top gear yet? Because you don't want to peak too soon, I guess.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I guess that's why the swimmers have their auditions and their trials a month out from the Olympics, because you can only peak once. So I think we've had a bit of a trial peak this year and then go back to grinding hard and then hopefully peak for the Olympics. But Walshy and Tom Carter, I guess they're pretty smart about how we're training and how we're going about things, so they definitely have worked it out when we're peaking.
What about you, Fraser? You have a little holiday after the World Cup, did you? Refresh and come back keen?
Yeah, had a good holiday, and it was great being able to come back here and your time off away. When all the boys were sort of on break, use these world-class facilities. The sauna and the ice bath were fantastic. Being able to come in as you please and just use them and getting stuck, trying to get fit again before pre-season. So yeah, it was great, refresh.
Dust has settled on the World Cup, but how do you reflect on how it went?
Yeah, dust has settled. There was a lot of learnings. I'm sure all the Wallaby boys here at the Reds have a lot of experiences and learnings that we're eager to take back and bring back here to the Reds. There's some big pathways moving forward. New coaches, new facility, new players. There's a lot of learnings to have as well for us. We're all learning a brand new system, and we're enjoying that. We're trying to get better each day. So just trying to take those little learnings that we all have, bring them back here and grow as people and players.
How did you assess how you personally went over there? Were you happy with what you put out in the field?
Yeah, like I said, it was a tough campaign, definitely. But yeah, I think it was a good stage to grow and to learn. You sort of only know once you get put out there and how it's going to go. So personally, yeah, I was happy, I was pleased, and like I said before, I'm just super keen to take what I learned, everything that I improved over there and worked really hard on, bring it back here in a great culture that Les and all the coaches are providing us players. Just build on that further.
What have you found with Les's way of dealing with a team? How has that struck you as different to some of your most recent coaches?
Yeah, I think the way Les speaks to his players is fantastic. He gives us a lot of rope. and make sure that as players we're driving our own destinies, which is great. I think, only really been in here a week and a half, so I'm sure I'll be able to answer that question a lot better, come next month. But from all the involvements I've had, I think it's been fantastic. There's a real drive from him and the rest of the coaching staff to, they see the potential in this group and where they want to take us it's paramount. So for us, it's just about getting there, and as Les says, it's north, and it's been direct and been really energetic about how we like to play.
How have you felt yourself? How much untapped potential was there in the Reds the last 2 years?
Oh, Jim, you know the growth and the development we have had in the team. There's a lot of young boys who've over the past few seasons have made their way through, and they've shown the ability that they've had. I think Queensland's a great state. Through schoolboy system, through club footy, through grassroots, we can build this great development system. I'm pretty sure over 90% of the team's all homegrown. So, we're able to mix it with the best teams. Last year, in the past few seasons, obviously the challenge for us is to be more consistent with that. And for us, that's still the same thing about our homegrown players, just getting better, a bit more consistent. I'm sure we'll be able to do that.
Fraser, at the World Cup, with all the talk that was going on at the time about Jones, did that affect the team's game at all?
To be honest, the World Cup sort of it's behind us now. I think with Eddie, all that sort of chat. I personally wish him best, but for us it's done. It's about bringing what I said before, about bringing the lessons, all that growth from the World Cup back here at the Reds, and being able to develop as a team under Les.
It's kind of like there was so much in the lead up to the World Cup for pretty much 2 years. It was just like the World Cup cycle means that was the pointy end, the focus, but now that's not there anymore. Is that nice? There's a bit of a weight off the shoulders knowing that club footy, that's where it's at, and there's not an end goal sort of elsewhere. It's
exactly that. I think it's refreshing after there's this big hype up to a point, and you get learnings and you grow as players and as people, and then you come back here at the Reds, it's so refreshing. You've got brand new people in the squad, new coaches, new facility, new partner. For us, it's just that's the refreshing side of it, and it's great after a milestone that's just happened in previous months, being able to come back here and have a clean slate, as you say, and be able to restart your game. For me personally, I've got a lot of growth to still have and a lot of stuff to build upon. So, to be able to start fresh and just rip into basically pre-season, which everyone loves, because you're able to work on yourself really hard. So, I think that's, like you said, refreshing, ready to rip in.
There's some commentators, I guess, as well during the World Cup who were saying that with so many young guys thrown into an environment like that and not having results go their way, it can have the potential to sort of break spirits throughout their careers. You're talking a lot about the learnings and such, so you very much disagree that it can more make a team as opposed to breaking them?
I suppose it depends on the player you ask and what their mindset is and how they're built. I can't talk about anyone else but myself. I know what they've done to me, and I'm super eager to get back on the park and rip in with the Reds. Really excited to play the attacking style that Les wants to play, and I've got some of my best mates here that I've known for years, and I'm super excited just to get on the field. You talk about growing and learnings. I've got so much footy left in my career, and I've got a long way to go as well as a player. So that's what I'm just aiming at that and taking it week by week here, especially in pre-season.
Maddie, what have you heard about Demi Hayes' knee? How savage is the injury?
I haven't heard too much. She'll undergo some scans now. Now we're back in Australia, back with our physio. So I'm hoping for the best, but we're right behind her. It is pretty devastating, I guess, an Olympic year with such a huge injury on the cards. So whatever news comes, we'll all be supporting her, and we'll all be behind her and wishing her well.
What was it like to see Tegan really shine in these first two tournaments, really express herself a lot more, like little chips of 10 metres ahead, picking them up, scoring tries, throwing a few, try-making passes? Well, she really has taken the game.
She's developed as a player, and it's pretty exciting to actually see. I've known her potential all along, but for her to actually come out of her shell and actually be an integral part in that Aussie Sevens team. I know she helps me when she's by my side on that field, and I know everyone else, the impact she has with the game, and she's just going to take the growth of women's sevens to another level just with her attacking style and her eagerness in defence. She'll take on anyone that's running against her. So I think she's still got a lot to bring to the table, and it's really exciting just with the confidence she's got now that she can really take us to hopefully a gold medal in Paris.
Feels like pretty regularly when you two do media in Australia, someone asks, "Oh, you're going to go to NRLW or back to AFLW?" But now there's a Brisbane carrot Olympics there as well, and you guys will still very much be, I guess, athletic peak. Is that enough of a carrot to want you to keep you in the sport long term?
Yeah, 100%. We've obviously just signed with Rugby Australia until 2026. So we talk about this being such a big golden decade for rugby within Australia. The 15s games growing with home World Cups, a home Olympics. It's definitely playing on the cards. I guess NRL and AFL have spoken to us, but you just can't put a price on travelling and playing for your country month in, month out. I guess you get to train at elite facilities like this, and you get to play at world-class fields against world-class athletes in a high professional environment, and I just don't think there's any game within Australia that actually compares to the game of 15s and 7s at the moment.
Fraser, in terms of who the new national coach might be, what type of style would you like in terms of playing culture, etc.?
Yeah, I haven't had too much thought about it actually. It's been post everything. It's been good just to get away from it. To answer your question, not too sure. I'm an attacking style sort of player, so I'm sure I'd love that and thrive under that. But having a great culture is paramount. So someone that enjoys friendships, true to themselves, I'm sure that would work really well.
Fraser, can I just jump in one too? Did you, I don't know if you heard Les's interview there, but he kind of said that he hopes that the Reds can kind of pull the trigger a bit more and have that courage to play. Do you feel like that's been a bit of a missing piece with the Reds over the last couple of years?
Hey, Christy. I think that it's not the fact that we failed to pull the trigger. I think it's more the fact that we weren't consistent, weren't able to put the foot in the throat sort of style. I think as Les is alluding to, I think we've been able to do it in the past, but we just haven't been clinical enough. But I think the way that Les wants to approach the way that he wants to attack and the way that he wants us to play is the fact that we're courageous, and if we see space, we're going to take it, but make sure that if the space is there and we're taking it, we're executing really well.
And did you, like a really long year for everyone, now it's pretty rare that the Wallabies come back before Christmas, did you, when you rocked up first day of training, what was your mental approach? Were you fresh at that point, or did you feel like, oh, here we go, this is going to be a bit of a slog?
Not really. I've been in at Ballymore 4 weeks prior, leading up, getting in here at the gym, using the facilities, seeing Les pretty much every day, and Brad and the coaches. So for me, I was really excited to get back in, and like I said, I've got a lot of close mates here in the squad, so getting to go to work with your best mates every day is fantastic. And everyone loves pre-season because there's no games, there's no stress, no anxiety. It's all about how can you be better, whether that's physically or on the field or mentally. So I was ready for that challenge.